Welcome back to Global Crossroads. I'm Bryan Hull, and today's guest is Kanaan Kanaan. Welcome.
Thank you.
Kanaan does and has done many things. Something I want to tell you about is that he was a recent winner of the Diamond Alumni Award. He's one of the PCC alumni who've gone on to do great things. So I want to thank you for that award.
Thank you.
And
I'm honored.
Yeah. Let's start there. When were you at PCC, and what was that like?
I immigrated to the States 1994, and I didn't speak English at the time. I mean, zero. And I did my first test at Rock Creek. And then I came and started taking classes at Sylvania, and actually did some classes at Cascade, but for the most part at Sylvania.
So what did you think? What were your initial impressions of PCC, higher ed in the US? What did you think about the whole thing?
I was immediately comparing it to the education system that I came from, Middle East. I really was surprised by not the ease. It's like there's something unique about it where it's not you are being given the information as much as there is a little bit of information, but there's a lot that you have to do. Back home, it wasn't that way, where everything is given to you and it's like scripted and you have to follow the script. And in that regard, it's more dynamic. And I was surprised to see every term the books are changing because there's no information. So I was really intrigued by the American education system. And the other part, which is kind of the, if you want to call it the sad part, that it wasn't free. Because we used to free education, and I studied in 2 universities, one in Algeria, it was completely free, and Iraq, also free.
Oh, wow. But back then, 1994, it was relatively cheap.
At PCC, yes, that's correct. Yeah, it was relatively cheap. It's not as expensive as now.
So you currently work at PSU, right?
Yes.
What's your job there? What do you do?
The technical title is Middle East Student Retention Specialist. So we go with the easy way of saying Middle East Student Advisor.
What are some of the challenges and rewards in that job?
Every day, every morning, I say, I'm glad I don't have a job, which that tells you that I really love the work. The one challenge, well, there are several challenges, but there is one recurring theme throughout is cultural adjustment for Middle Eastern students. It takes them longer than other students for some reason. There's tremendous amount of cultural shock. I experienced it myself, but at the time, I was older and I was determined, and I know what I wanted to do. First, learn the language, and I was really focused on that. I completely isolated myself and I immersed myself in learning the language. These kids come in still not sure if they want to open up or not, and they live with their friends, their cousins, their buddies, so that there isn't really the interaction with American culture. So they don't really know what is it that they want to do or what is it that they want to learn.
That's interesting the way you put it, undecided.
Undecided because they're still living with the attitude from the Middle East, which is the close net that they know and aware of. Opening up is too much, and you cannot expect them to open up immediately because they came from sheltered life. Everything was given to them and done for them. So they never really did anything beyond just going to school. And these are, I'm talking about 18-year-old kids,
But is it
18,
true?
19.
Is it true for all the students that you work with that everything was done for them, everything was given for them, or because I would think one of the challenges would be that you would be having to work with a wide variety of students.
Yeah, see, I'm generalizing when I
Okay.
say that there are students like they haven't done anything in their lives. There are students who are determined. From the day they come in, they are determined on learning the language, immerse themselves in the American culture, go to school, succeed. There is another group also determined to have fun, and that's the end of it. So they have fun and then go home. But the vast majority are a little bit lost in terms of acclimating or getting used to the American culture, the new life, and it's fairly stressful on them, and they just don't know how to handle things. Well, the biggest barrier is the language.
Yeah.
From just going to court and not knowing what to do, and they get like handed these tickets because they bought the wrong pass, and it really freaks them out because they never went to court, and they understand in their mind that at the end of court you'll end up in jail or something. So they just freak out easily because they broke the law. Back home, somebody could pick up the phone and things are good, but here it's not.
Wow. Huh. So I could be totally making this up, but I have this memory that you either put on a workshop or were part of a panel on sort of understanding Arab students, like some of the ways that faculty may misconstrue or misunderstand something. Is that true? Did you do a workshop on that?
I have been doing talks, going to departments, advisors, meetings, and talk to them about the culture. So just to break down barriers between faculty, staff, advisors, so give them a better understanding of the Middle Eastern culture. So they could start interpreting what they see the right way rather than just cast judgment or stereotype students.
So can you talk about maybe one or two fairly common intercultural communication problems that you see happen in an educational setting like this?
Could be as simple as somebody coming to register for a class and there's no room. The professor, the instructor say no. Middle Eastern students don't take no as the end of the story. So they keep negotiating. They don't take that as a no. And this is a cultural issue, has nothing to do with the professor being clear or not.
Right.
They just keep pushing, and the way they ask about it, you feel like you're being harassed, but it's not really. It's
Right.
like it's part of negotiating, and it's if you go to the market and say, well, this is $100, no $50, no $25, and you just go back and forth until you reach an agreement. So there isn't no or yes. So that is part of the haggling.
So if, as an American professor, instructor, here's someone and they're not taking no for an answer, and I'm sort of reached my limit of patience. Is there anything I should say or do that would let them know, no really is no, or is like what should I change or modify on my end, do you think?
There isn't really much that you can modify except for let them tell their story. So this is kind of really an intricate part of where they want to talk. They don't want to be cut short. So and I know lots of advisors, they run on the clock 15 minutes or 20 minutes each. And Middle Eastern students, they want to tell you their story. And sometimes you get lost listening to their story because it's like a monkey jumping over the tree. Where is the point?
Right.
What are you trying to say?
Right.
Part of the listening could help these students get rid of their anxiety, and they may listen to you better that way. And when you tell them, all right, well, I really understand, it seems like you're really going through this, but I want to explain to you the process that I go through. So it's kind of, you are also haggling with them to get to reach that point. And they may leave happier rather than just like say something negative about you, because they always come to me with all these conspiracy theories about
Why
professors.
I
Yeah.
didn't let them into the class, and no, that's unfortunate.
And it is really cultural misunderstanding more than anything else.
Yeah. So you're involved in the community as well.
Yes.
Tell me something about the organizations that you work with.
Currently, I am involved with the Arab American Cultural Center of Oregon. The purpose of the organization is to promote Arab culture and build bridges. Most of these events that we put together are more about culture, music, food, and we have an annual festival that we have every summer.
Right.
The backstory is that there is this misconception about Middle Eastern culture and Arabs, that they are viewed certain way in the media. Our efforts is to open up that conversation and invite Americans to see who we are, because we are all professionals. We are all Americans. That's why we call it American in the name, because we are all Americans, successful professionals in our fields. So we live an American life, but our heritage is Arab. And you also find some members on the board are Americans. They are not Arabs. And we are open for everybody, because the point is promoting Arab culture and heritage. I was involved with some other organizations, but now I'm kind of limiting my involvement. I got split into too many things and too many directions, but I volunteer with University of Hope project that is, I do artwork with youth in McLaren.
So tell me, what's that all about?
These are youth, juvenile youth in McLaren, Woodburn. I go on Sundays, just work with them on art projects. And the point is to really take art as a way of getting through them, into them, and bring the good in them. And
how old are they?
Teenagers, early 20s.
Huh.
And don't ask me about what they did, because I don't ask them. I don't want to judge them. I just work with them as troubled teens who had problems, but they are paying the price for it. And I'm hoping that I could change their lives some way, that they can come out and do something good.
So this is a perfect transition into your artwork, I think.
Yeah.
So you're a very busy person, obviously, and hopefully you're making time for your own artwork. But how long have you been a visual artist?
If you want to count when I was a young boy, then it's almost 40 years.
Wow. So it's always something that you've been following.
Yes.
A path that's
I have been, it has been manifesting in many different ways in my life. And actually, it became a survival mechanism in my life to help me through it's really, I know maybe people won't see it, but art is really important in our lives. And there is certain things that your mind connects that you may not really feel it right away, but it builds this uh, vision where you can see things from a different angle always, because when you're working on paper or canvas, you're looking at it from the outside, and every stroke, every piece of color, every object is something, and that could be related to life. So you can see all the connections, all the intricacies, and that applies on somebody is writing a book, somebody is making a movie. It is really to show all facets of life, and will give us a better look at it. And we always find creative solutions.
What's current obstacle or dilemma that you're facing now with your artwork? Maybe you don't have one, but I just wonder.
Yeah, funding. That's one of the major ones. My artwork always self-funded. Funded. I work and support my bad habits.
Yeah. Wow. So tell me if I'm wrong about this. You grew up in a refugee camp in Jordan, is that right?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that. What was that like? What were the challenges that you faced there?
Refugee camp, it's not like camping in the woods here.
Right.
You take your tent for
Right.
have
It sounds very
barbecue.
temporary, I know.
Yeah, it's really it became permanent because the refugee flood, the Palestinians in 1948, that was the mark of starting the state of Israel. So Palestinians were dispersed in different parts of the Middle Eastern region. My family at first ended up in the West Bank, and then they moved to Jordan and remained in Jordan. And that was like one of the things that, of course, my father got married, and then I was born at that time, and actually was still in the same place. And these tents or huts at some point grew and started changing, and now they're permanent structures, and it's a little bit more organized, and these days there is more the running water, and there is the sewage system is closed, so it used to be just flowing and open.
Yeah. When you were growing up, there wasn't that stuff?
Yeah, there wasn't. Now it's better. Actually, they started reducing the density of it by opening roads and eliminating some of these houses and giving them residence in different parts of the capital.
So looking back on it, what are your thoughts, feelings? What sticks out to you?
You know, it was really terrible in many ways, because it's like when it's cold, it's freezing, and we don't have heat. And when we go to school, we have to go to school through this plains, and it's wide open, and walk through the fields and all muddy. But there was that important component, it's education, that we have to get better life by going to school. So that was really a key important thing, and I feel education always was important for us, and I think it should be for everybody, because definitely gets you out of your place, not necessarily out of your poverty immediately, but you could reach a point of intellect that you can make better choices.
So we're just touching on everything, and it's a little unsatisfying, but you're a very full person. You have a lot of facets. But I wondered if you could say, from your perspective, here it is 2012, what do you think is needed to move the conversation or peace process between the Israelis and the Palestinians forward? What do you think? It's a hard question.
How long do we have?
Not that long.
I always start the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is not a religious conflict. It's not between Muslims, Jews, and actually close to 40% of Palestinians are Christians.
Right. I tell my students that all the time.
Yeah. So it's that to give you a little bit of the demographics. The Palestinian-Israeli problem is really a political problem, and the solution is in Washington, D.C. And I'm saying that, generalizing it, because these are the guys, the policymakers, the politicians are the ones who could solve the problem.
But there are some people who say, the U.S. is so clearly one-sided, they're actually not useful in this process anymore. But you would say still the U.S. is the best?
That's what I'm saying. The solution is right there, and it's one-sided and will remain one-sided until the politicians in D.C. decide to look at the problem as evenly and be neutral. Other than that, it will remain the way it is, because no matter who's trying to bring solutions from anywhere, the UN, there are so many resolutions that the UN brought to the table. There are so many countries that they had these initiatives. None of them worked. As long as Israel just takes and keeps pressuring the United States, and of course these politicians, I have to say this, they obliged to support Israel, because if they don't, they lose their seat.
So that leads to my next question, and that is, do you think that the Palestinians are as organized on a national level to exert pressure on politicians as well as they could be?
It doesn't really matter. Palestinians, if they are organized, they may use that pressure, but we don't have the power. We don't have the super PAC influence. We don't have the money that comes in and support in big force with campaigns. And that's in the United States election, it matters. And if you look globally, the grassroots people, countries, the support for Palestinians is tremendous.
Right.
And Israel is really politically isolated. Practically, you look at all these countries, even Europe. So if Palestinians start bringing millions and billions of dollars to support campaigns, of course things will change. But I don't think it's something that we should do or anybody should do to leverage politicians. Basically, you're buying these politicians, and this should be eliminated from political process, not just for
everything. In general.
Of course, in general, because who is the loser at the end? Us, Americans, because it's really this campaign contribution is a fiasco, and it should be completely eliminated. We should look at the French model, should look at other models that are really the politicians serving the people.
Kanan, you've come so far in your life so far.
Thank you.
I mean, it's sort of amazing to think you started one place and then you just kept going. So it's an admirable journey.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's very nice to hear. So thank you for coming
Thank you
to
very
Global
much.
Crossroads.
I appreciate it.
And I'm sorry we had to cover so much ground, but thank you.
It's a pleasure to be back at Sylvania. Thank you.